Hi everybody, welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Today we're going to be doing a stitch tutorial for a mystery shawl knit along that is going on right now. It started October the 1st. This happens every year. This is the annual Halloween mystery shawl knit along for Boo Knits. That's Bev Johnson. This year the shawl is called Bewitched, and it is a crescent shaped shawl. It's recommended that you use lace weight yarn and beads. Actually two types of beads this year. She's recommending using a size 6/0 seed bead and a 5/0 triangular shaped bead. I don't have any triangular shaped beads in my stash, so I'm going to be using two different types of seed beads. Let's see, we have done the first clue. I will show you that at the very end. So I will give you a spoiler alert if you do not want to see what the shawl is looking like. If you are going to be knitting this, you don't want to see, just stop the video right before when I tell you for the spoiler alert. But we have gotten clue 1, October the 1st. I'm going to show you how to do all the stitches in this shawl, so that if you want to use it as a reference point, you can, or if you just want to watch this and evaluate if this is something you might be able to knit, please do. I like to do these sometimes just as a way to show people. Sometimes I think people look at lace and beads and think, I can't knit that. But when you look at the stitches that are in the shawl, you totally can knit it because they're not that hard. I have shown all of these stitches before, and when I've done other stitch tutorials for Bev Johnson's shawls. It is a crescent shaped shawl. For crescent shaped shawls, you have to do increases on the edges. You're going to do a 4-stitch increase on the right side, a 2-stitch increase on the wrong side. But she likes to do the make 1 increases. So I'm going to show you how to do those. And some other stitches, there are some special decorative stitches, increase stitches, some with a bead, some without a bead. For this pattern, it is a charted pattern and a text pattern. She writes, all of her patterns are charted and text. So if you're not great at reading charts, there is a text there, so you can knit this shawl. Also, she shows you exactly where to put the beads. For this particular pattern, the bead has to be placed before the stitch is done. Sometimes the bead is placed after the stitch. Just look when you're doing a shawl pattern, look at what the pattern recommends. Usually the designer will recommend either before the stitch is done or after the stitch is done. Let's see. Before I get into the stitches, just make sure I haven't missed anything. This shawl is going to be 78 inches across and 20 and a half inches in depth. So that's the shape of it, that's the size of it after blocking. Of course, your shawl may be a little bit bigger or maybe a little bit smaller depending on your gauge, the yarn you use, how you knit, how you block after you knit it. And she does recommend a lace weight yarn that she's using a heavy lace weight yarn, which is about 695 meters per 100 grams. Most lace weights are about 800 meters per 100 grams. That's what I'm actually using. I'm actually using a lace weight yarn this year for this shawl. I'm using this yarn here. This is what it looks like. This is from Miss Babs. This is her Dulcina, which is not made anymore. This is heavy lace. It's 70% merino wool, 15% cashmere, 15% silk, and it's 800 yards, 120 grams, and the color is bloodstone. Isn't that pretty? And I don't know if you can see, I'm not sure you can see the label on that, if you need to see that. There you go. Okay, the beads I'm using are a raspberry type bead and a black bead. I'll insert a picture here of my yarn with the beads. that I'm going to be using. So you can see, and that's my lazy way of evaluating beads. You can't always string your beads onto your yarn. If you've had it wound up, I didn't have it wound up, so I just stick it with a pin in there and kind of look at it under the sunlight, just see how it shimmers, see how it looks. It's my lazy way of evaluating what type of bead I want to use for a project. Let's get into the stitch tutorial. So the Bewitched Shawl starts with a garter stitch tab cast on. You start with 2 stitches and you knit about however many rows she tells you to knit, and then you pick up a stitch along each one of the garter stitch ridges, and then you go to the original 2 stitches and pick up 2 stitches from that. I did it that way, but I really do not like starting out with 2 stitches. I understand why they do it, because they want it to be a thin strip, but I like doing it with 3 stitches. So I did it with 2. I tried it, I didn't like it, I ripped it out, and I went back and I redid the garter stitch tab cast on with 3 stitches. I started with 3 stitches. I knit, I think, 17 rows, enough to get enough stitches. I had to end up with 13 stitches, so 3 at the beginning, 3 at the end. I needed 10 I needed so many stitches in the middle. How many? 7 stitches in the middle, so I knitted enough garter stitch rows to have 7 pickups. And you can do that. That's the reason why I'm telling you all of this, is just that you don't have to do it exactly like they tell you to do. As long as you know, you can modify garter stitch tab cast on to be whatever you want it to be, to make it look the way you want it to look. If you don't like the way it looks with 2, try with 3. And I'm just telling you this so that you can think about that and try it a different way if you don't like the way that the 2 is looking. So I just thought that would be something fun to share. It's what I did, and to get this shawl going. And then now let's get into the stitches. I'm not going to show you the garter stitch tab cast on, because I've showed that many times before, and I'm just showing you some pictures of, or little clips of me when I did it both ways. And we'll get into the stitches. We're going to do the knit stitch. You want to insert your right hand needle through the front leg of the next stitch on your needle. Wrap your yarn around your needle, pull it through. Knit stitch, and that's doing it English style. Then you do a purl stitch. You bring your working yarn to the front, insert your right hand needle through the front leg like that, wrap your yarn around, pull it through, bring your yarn back to the back. You will have a bump in front of your purl stitch like that. Next is knit through the back loop. This is the front leg. This is the back leg of your stitch. If you're going to knit through the back leg, you're going to insert your right hand needle through the back leg of the stitch, wrap your yarn around your right hand needle, pull it through, and your stitch will be twisted a little bit, because that's a regular knit stitch. That's a knit through the back loop, and you can see how the stitch here is twisted. See, it's twisted there, knit through the back loop, not twisted there, regular knit stitch. Okay, knit 2 together. Involves the next 2 stitches on your knitting needle. Insert your right hand needle through both of the next 2 stitches on your knitting needle. Wrap your yarn around. Whoops, hold on a second. Put your right hand needle through the next 2 stitches, wrap your yarn around it, your needle, pull it through. It'll be a right leaning decrease. 2 stitches will become 1. Then you have a slip knit, which is a left leaning decrease. You slip the next stitch on your needle knitwise, slip the next stitch on your left hand needle knitwise, insert it through the front of both of those stitches on your right needle, knit them together through the back loop like that, and that's a slip knit. There's several ways to do a slip knit. I have a video that shows that. I'll link it up above. But the way I showed you is the way I like to do it. Okay, a knit back and front. You're going to insert your right hand needle through the back leg of the next stitch on your knitting needle. You wrap your yarn around, pull it through. That's knit through the back. do not pull the stitch off the left hand needle yet. Insert your right hand needle through the front leg and knit, wrap your yarn around and knit it, so you've knit through the back and front, and that's what it looks like. Your one stitch becomes two. The next stitch is a slip two knit past the slip stitch over. That's also a center double decrease. You're going to slip the next two stitches on your left hand needle together knitwise. Knit the next stitch, pass your two slip stitches over that knitted stitch, and three stitches will become one, and it's a center double decrease because your stitch doesn't lean to the right or to the left. It's a center double decrease. The next stitch is the Make One series. You have the Make Left and the Make Right. That'll be done on the right side. And then you have the Make Right Purl and the Make Left Purl. That'll be done on the wrong side. These are the increases that you're doing at the edge of the shawl. It involves, these Make One stitches involves the yarn between the two stitches. You have the two stitches on each one on your right, one on your left. These stitches will involve this leg of yarn that's between these two stitches on your needles. So to do a Make Left, your left hand needle is going to take that leg and go from front to back. So you pick it up like that. Now take a look at it and you can see how it's longer in the front and shorter in the back. Wherever it is shorter, that's where you're going to knit through. So it's shorter in the back, so you're going to knit through the back of that stitch. So you insert your needle through the back of that like this and knit through the back leg, and it looks like that. That's a make left stitch, and as you can see, it does slightly lean to the left right here. That's why they call it a Make Left, because it's leaning to the left. Alright, so to do a Make Right stitch, if you didn't do it, you can just simply do that. You pick up that leg, from the back to front like that. As you can see, it's now shorter in the front, so you're going to knit through the front of that leg. This is the Make Right stitch, like that. Wrap your yarn around, pull it through. That's a Make Right, and as you can see, this part right here is leaning to the right, which is why it's called a Make Right stitch. This part right here. And the beautiful thing about these stitches is they do not make holes in your knitting. They're very seamless and integrate very seamlessly. Alright, to do a purl, the next increases are done on the wrong side. You're going to do a Make Right purl. Again, when you're doing a Make Right, you're going to pick up the yarn from back to front. This leg, you're going to pick it up from back to front. Since it's shorter in the front, you're going to purl through the front. This is a Make Right purl increase. Maybe you have to push it forward a little bit to get your needle in, like that, and you just purl. And that's a Make Right purl. And as you can see, it is still leaning to the right, right there. Right there. Alright, so to do a Make Left purl, you'll pick up that leg from front to back. Like that. You're going to purl, so you're going to bring your yarn, working yarn to the front. It is shorter in the back, So you're going to come through the back loop, and you're going to do it like this. Come through the back leg like this. So you're going to turn it like this, and you're going to come through the back leg like this, and you're going to purl through the back loop. So you're going to wrap your yarn around it like this and pull it through like that, and that's a make left purl. And you can see right there it is leaning to the left a little bit right there. It's a make left purl. And those are the 4 make left stitches that you have to do. They're make 1 stitch increases. And those are the increases you're going to do on the side of the stitches, the side of the shawl, to do increases. This, to do a yarn over, you're just going to bring your working yarn to the front and go over the right hand needle like that. It'll make a hole in your knitting and add 1 stitch. If your next stitch is a purl stitch, you'll bring your yarn around and just continue all the way around, because when you do a purl stitch, you have to have your working yarn in the front. So that's a yarn over. The next stitch is a knit, yarn over knit, yarn over knit, yarn over knit. You're taking 1 stitch and making 7. So you're going to 1 stitch into 7. You're going to end up with 7 stitches. You're going to insert your right hand needle into the next stitch. You're going to knit. You do not take it off the left hand needle. You'll do a yarn over knit 3 times, all into the same stitch. So that's 1, yarn over knit 2, yarn over knit 3, and then you're done. So you should have 7 stitches on your needle in that 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what it looks like. It'll be a decorative stitch. Knit, yarn over knit, yarn over knit, yarn over knit. Alright, the next stitch is a 3 with the arrow down. It's a 1 stitch becomes 3, but you're going to have to do it in the stitch below the stitch on the needle, which in this instance is this beaded stitch. So I put a bead on my swatch here. You're going to go into the stitch below the stitch on the needle, which is this one right here, the beaded stitch. So you insert your needle into that stitch. You're going to do a knit, yarn over, go back into that same stitch, and do a final knit stitch. So you have a knit, yarn over knit into that beaded stitch, and then when you're done, the stitch that's on the needle, you're just going to drop it off, and it will be caught by the stitch that you just knit into, and it looks like that. 1 stitch becomes 3, but it was in this beaded stitch below. And then the other one is a purl 7, which is basically just purling the next 7 stitches. It's just a way to keep the chart tidy. Showed you how to purl the stitches, and that's it. Those are all the stitches. When you do a bead on for this shawl, you add the bead before you do the stitch. So you'll be adding the bead before you do the stitch on this particular shawl pattern. Sometimes you can add the bead after you do whatever the stitch is, but for this shawl, you're going to add a bead before you do the stitch. And there's 2 different types of beads for this shawl. All right, thank you guys so much for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I know you've seen if you watch my channel for any length of time, you've seen all of these stitches before. So these are nothing new. She likes to use a lot of the make 1 increases and a lot of these knit, yarn over knit stitches for increases, and the CDD, the center double decrease, or the as 2, knit, pass the 2 slip stitches over. She does that a lot. Let's see, what else? I guess we're to the spoiler alert. So if you do not want to see, if you are going to knit this and you do not want to see what it looks like, you might want to stop the video here. But if you want to see what my clue 1, I've knitted clue 1 so far. Clue 2 will be coming out on Friday of this week, which is October the 7th, the day after Stephen West's release. So I'm going to be pretty busy this weekend. But if you want to see, here we go. This is what my clue 1 is looking like. I will put a still picture in there as well. I don't know if you can see my beads very well. They're not very showing up. They're like a raspberry type of a bead. I'm only using one type of bead so far. And this is how big it is so far. It's going to, again, be kind of long. Crescent shapes are longer than they are this way. So you can see how long it's already gotten. This is, I think we are at 70-something rows already, actually, if you can believe it. And you can see there is a little bit of a lace pattern in here in the middle, coming up the middle there with a bead on it. Again, I'll put a still picture in here because it might be easier to see with a solid white behind it instead of just looking through it to see me. But I love doing Bev's annual mystery knit-alongs, or Halloween mystery knit-alongs. I did Morning Star a few years ago. I've done Lilith. I did Shadow Dancer. So I've done this for a few years, and they were really a lot of fun to do. So thank you for letting me share that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. All right, bye-bye.